Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out People of Reddit. Story 1. Blocking 2 pumps at the gas station and giving a finger. Let's see how much you like being blocked and waiting. The story of backing up in the gas station reminded me one of my own, when an asshole driver in front of me took the second, closer, pump in the line while the first one was free. So I would have to wait until he finishes and pays while the pump in front of him would be free for the whole time. All the other lines were taken too, but no other cars in line. The station was actually quite empty otherwise, it was late in the evening. So it was double so infuriating to wait on a nearly empty station unnecessarily. Honked at him to move to the pump in front, but he gave me a finger. Later noticed he had some lady inside the car, maybe a date he wanted to impress and assert dominance. Ick. So if you want to play it this way, it was actually possible to back up, go around through a lane for large trucks. There was no truck at the time, but I couldn't use the pump because the hose noses are thicker, and pull back to the free place in front of the guy. But I made sure to back up very sloppy. It wasn't convenient and easy to back up there after all, to the extent the guy would have no way to go around me. And then I took my sweet time. I took a full tank, obviously, also putting the additive first, and not hurrying at all, quite the opposite. When I finished filling the tank and went to pay, the guy was already back in his car, but couldn't go as he had to wait for me to clear the space. Also, the previously free line for large trucks was blocked now. A truck came, so he couldn't get around like I did previously. So he had to wait, and boy had he waited. Unfortunately, for him, I also needed to use the bathroom, also taking my time, plus was in a need to buy some snacks, so I had to go back to the counter again. I heard some honking from the outside already halfway in my trip, after like 5 minutes, but it still took me about another 5 minutes to complete everything I needed to do to get back to my car. I actually checked that Noon was waiting behind him, just the guy waiting for me, the other lanes still being blocked but the station otherwise quite empty. I then walked slow to my car, of course had to put the snacks to the proper place and adjust my seat belt properly before leaving. At this time the guy was honking constantly but still couldn't get around. But I actually didn't give him a finger like he did before, as I thought it wasn't even necessary at this point. The cherry on top was that there were traffic lights at the exit from the station, and I managed to catch just before the red, but the POS had to stop. He couldn't go on the red because of the incoming traffic from the other directions. Which was good because there might be expected some road rage from his side otherwise, but this way he never caught up and I never saw him again. Story 2. Roommate accidentally killed my rabbit and purposely kept using my detergent while denying it. This happened a while ago, but I feel like this is the place. I had a roommate that kept using my detergent. If she would have asked, or admitted it when I confronted her, I would have been okay with it. But she always denied it. Well, one time in winter her BF was going to visit. She wanted my rabbit to be all soft and nice, so she gave him a bath and then put him downstairs in the unheated garage/laundry area to dry. This was February in the northern Midwest US, temperatures generally between 10 and -15 degrees Fahrenheit. She didn't do it on purpose, but I came home to a dead bunny cycle. I didn't make a big deal of it BC, I didn't want to make her look bad with her BF, but that was kinda it. Back to the detergent. I decided to add a shit ton of bleach. I had a code for lab classes, and officially it was for that. If she had asked, I could have told her there was a shitton of bleach in the one detergent bottle, but since she claimed she never used my detergent, she didn't ask, and I didn't share or label. Ruined a whole load of jeans and such. Big bleach spots. I'm still smug, and it's been a decade. Story 3. My ex lefted some stuff home after we broke up. My ex left me for a friend of mine. She is older than me, cheaper, less educated, really jealous, controlling, even with me, and against porn in every shape and form. My ex was an avid fan of old Playboy magazines and porn in general. He had a full box of Playboy magazines, he purposely left in my house. As years passed by, she started complaining to me about her husband, My ex, having porn addiction, saying it was degrading as a woman to see his husband look at porn, I never gave a shit about it, I'm more liberal I guess. So one night, when she was mad at him, I passed by her house and told her, "Your husband had forgotten some of his belongings in my house, can you give him back?" You should have seen her face. I did not say any more words and left. I know he had the time of his life with her. I laughed all the way home. Edit, grammar corrections, clarification. Story 4. Stop urinating with opened door. So my husband is a wonderful man that just happened to be used to urinating with opened door. Our relationship is usually without petty disputes or childish own-upsmanship. Well, after spending a year asking him monthly to close his door so I don't have to see and hear him piss, I snapped. Decided that diplomacy is useless and instead went into offensive. He was pissing, doors opened wide and I just went in, leaned into the door frame and started staring at him quietly. He stopped urinating and looked at me like I was a weirdo. He asked, "What am I doing?" I said I thought that those opened door were an invitation. He asked me to leave and to close the door. I did this 2 more times. After that he finally realized that our bathroom door do in fact close and that he also has that power. Anyway, I handle most of our disputes in slightly more mature manner. Story 5. Keep calling me, it'll gross you out. I get God knows how many scam calls on a daily basis about Medicare/final expense whole life insurance. It gets even more wild when open enrollment is back up, that's when I have these bastards calling me on Sunday. Blocking, saying I don't have Medicare, not answering, etc. all does no good, so I fuck with them, and waste their time. There was one week I was really sick of them, as in they would call me from one number, and then I would decline it because I'm at work. These fucking idiots called me right back a second later from a new number. They're like genital herpes, you cannot stop them. So when I had some free time, I decided every scam Medicare call I get that day, I was gonna ask them if they made their poopies today. Just talk to them like a baby and gross them out. Most of the scammers that called, they just hung up on me when I asked that. But one guy made me laugh. I put on this old British man accent and I said, "Can I ask you a question?" after he finished his script. "Yes," was his response. So with this elderly British man's voice I said, "Did you make poopies today?" This scammer paused for like 5 seconds before blurting out did I do what?" Like he had never heard someone ask him such a question. So I repeated, "Did you make poopies today?" He responded then in a disgusted tone, "Nah man," then he hung up on me immediately after. Funny enough that after I got rid of that scammer, the amount of calls I got really dwindled later that night. They still call me, but I'll continue to ask them weird-ass/creepy questions until they learn to leave me alone. It's my revenge for every single person they've bothered, lol. Story 6. Sound bites. My fiancé and I have had an ongoing and very minor disagreement. In the mornings we both like to sit on bed, have a hot drink and read the media/messages etc. before starting the day. So, about a year ago my other half got into watching short reel videos on Facebook and started watching theses in the morning before getting out of bed, ruining what I have always experienced as a bit of relaxing quiet time before the day begins. I tried to talk to him but he became upset and said he should get to do what he wants. Little did he realize that should mean I too get free rein. I have been learning Spanish with Duolingo. Anyone who has used it surely knows it isn't fun for those around you. I really enjoyed learning Spanish before starting the day, and my darling fiancé has not watched real videos next to me in the morning since, nor have I heard a peep of complaint. Our mornings have become blissfully peaceful once again. Story 7. Pull my chair out from under me, you school punk. Way back in the 80s when I was in school we had a strict "don't pull the chair out from underneath someone who is about to sit down" rule. Without exception, teachers would put kids in timeout if they were caught doing it. I had never experienced timeout when this story happened, but it seemed like a horrifying scenario and I generally tried to color inside the lines anyways. I generally agreed with this rule because I never thought the gag was all the funny, but there was a small gaggle of kids who enjoyed playing pranks and they often tested boundaries whenever the teachers had their attention elsewhere. One of these kids, Alex, thought the time was right one day to pull my chair out as I was sitting down. Sure enough, I tumbled down. It wasn't a catastrophe and I didn't cry or get overly upset, but my butt hurt and I was irritated, especially when he just laughed and went back to whatever his stupid 5-year-old self was doing. Fortunately, he was standing in front of his chair. So I just stopped what I was doing and waited until he was about to sit down, which couldn't have been more than 5 minutes. Slyly as a 4-year-old could be, I yanked his chair away and watched in real satisfaction as he did the same thing I had just done minutes before and fell on his butt. Petty revenge, accomplished. Instead of taking his licks though, he burst into tears. A nearby teacher came over to comfort him and, sobbing, he pointed to me and tattled on me for pulling his chair out. Even as a 4-year-old, I felt like his whole reactions was pretty lame and I knew this had to be it, I was going to the dreaded timeout. As disappointed as I was, I still felt it was worth it. But the teacher never looked at me, and never scolded me. As far as I know, I was the only kid to ever get away without pulling a chair out and I can only assume it was because she saw both sides of what happened. Presumably, she was as petty as I was. Story 8. Lock always left open. I am a tenant in a long, open, multi-tenant vehicle storage building. We all had our own areas for our vehicle with a storage cabinet for parts and tools. Everyone was very honest and nice. Except for one spot was rented by a club/group of 4 or 5 people. They weren't evil, just pompous, better than thou, dicks to the rest of us. One of my many skills/endeavors is lock picking for fun and profit. Whenever no one was around, I would pick the padlock, master lock 1, easy peasy, on their storage cabinet and leave it open. I never went into it, just left it open. Now, I never heard anything about it, but I can just imagine the ongoing commotion as each one blames the other ones for not locking it. Petty, yes, but it is that forum. Story 9. Have you checked the laundry? I was the victim of this revenge but it was wholesome and totally warranted. My girlfriend and I live together and she definitely takes a much more active role when it comes to looking after the house. I try to keep up by cooking dinner whenever I have time, doing all the dishes, because I actually notice them, and chores like vacuuming that I'm somehow good at. It's not like I can't live alone, I've done that before and loved it. I'm just a bit of a man-child and have much lower standards when it comes to cleanliness. I'm working on it though and accept that I need to help out more. While I do help out with the laundry, my partner runs washes throughout the workday. I don't really do things other than work while at work, despite also working from home, but she likes to break up her day. As a result, my washing would generally get sorted out by her and all I'll do is help her out things out if I happen to see her, and I'm not in a meeting. Anyway, one day I noticed that I was starting to run out of underwear. Now, this doesn't happen often as I have around 40 pairs so I can go 2 weeks or more without running a wash, that's how I lived before we moved in. Anyway, I asked her what had happened and if they had maybe gone missing. She said she had no idea. A few days later, I'm starting to notice that I'm running down to my last few. I ask her again what happened. Have you checked the laundry? There was a big grin. I go to the dirty clothes basket and see a massive stack of underpants. She'd got sick of washing them and so, rather than telling me, she just waited to see what would happen. I had a good laugh, lesson learned. I put the wash on and gave her a high five for the sweet burn she gave me. Smiley face. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.